Morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm kind of getting good at this, kind of surprising Ron whenever he comes in and asks him a question and throw something at him.
I'm like, I just got done wrestling and sparring, and I look like hell, and he's like, come on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was I've been working on coming up with a list of strategies as a martial artist that we teach our students. And so this morning I asked Ron, I said, name me some of the strategies. And he named a bunch of them that I was like, when you hear about them, you're like, oh my God, what is that? Then when you see it in action, you're like, yeah, I've kind of done that. But putting it in a name so we can use it as a tool that we can actually teach students. And think about strategies is that they're principled. That means they're time proven. Like we don't have to make them up. They're already there, right? I think one of the things about martial arts, which we always try to do new things, and versus some of the stuff that's been around forever, like these principles and strategies. And so I want to talk about, ask him about his strategies and some of the ones you talked about what Bruce Lee has already developed, some of the strategies. I think it'd be an educational thing for all the instructors and school owners. So what in your opinion, why do you define strategy?
You know what I like? All right, for one, I'm going to touch on one thing before we get way into it. One of my instructors, Fred Degerberg, he would also always go into strategy and talk about strategy, and he always said, ancient theory, modern practice. So you're talking about everybody coming up with new stuff. There's always going to be new stuff and an influx of stuff coming in. It's so funny because there's times where I thought I was coming up with this great new material, or I would see, Guru Dan and Asanto show stuff, and then he would pull out like an old ancient history book or something. You open up and you'd see these old texts of like drawings of fighters, and they were doing the exact same thing. He goes, this. It existed. And there was an instructor named John LaCosta, and he would look at him and he would say, Dan, you're getting pretty good at this. You're starting to create, and that's great. You think yourself one genius. He goes, it's been around. It's always existed. And if you think about it, strategy comes from like military, and think of this in football. If you ever look at all the like the plays, you ever see it where they show all the X's and the O's and they show the lines? A lot of that's taken from dogfights, from fighter pilots. Like plane designs. That's where they used to steal a lot of that stuff from. So they were stealing the strategy of military combat and putting it into a game. If you think about sports in general, like just think of football or soccer or something coming off the line and moving and all of that, it's all strategy, and it all can be applicable to a fight. So with that in mind, the strategies of that you asked me this morning about JKD or Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's art, and if you look at it, a lot of the strategies are from fencing, and a lot of people will go, oh, it's Wing Chun based, and the way I was taught, the base of Jeet Kune Do is not Wing Chun. And I know that will infuriate a lot of Chinese. It's a big part of it, and I'm not taking away from it, but PIA, HIA, SDA, all these things are fencing terms. If you think about it, like there's progressive indirect attack is PIA. So what is a progressive indirect attack? I might fake low and then go high. What's hand immobilizing? It's self-explanatory. I immobilize a hand. People go, can you get that in a fight? Look at Lomachenko nowadays. He'll sit there and he'll throw a guy into a corner, and a guy will start to cover up, and he'll just wipe that hand down. They call it swiping. They do. They don't use the term of lopsal, but he uses it. He'll use poksal. Then there's attack by draw. I might expose something and say, hey, here's my chin, and when you go for it, I take it. Those are all different strategies. Single direct attack is just you see him in the static lull, bam, you take the shot. There's attack by combination. There's all these different strategies. But what it comes down to is methods on how to work it. And that's where I like Fred's interpretation is ancient theories, modern practice. Because with the advent of a speed bag, like I came up in Wing Chun under a man named Randy Williams, Sifu Randy Williams. And that guy was probably one of the best guys I've ever seen on a speed bag. I'm like, hey, that's not Wing Chun. He's like, it gives him something. And he's modernized it. And it comes to the advent also of, if we just said, all right, we made something and it's static and we never grew with it, we'd still all be driving Model Ts. Or, it would never have advanced into what we have now. So you have to take what you have and develop drills. And again, you'll think yourself one genius, but you're not. You might be. I hope you are. But it's been there. and things evolve, and the strategy can be applicable. There's nobody who has the right answer. You agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you do an armbar, who taught you an armbar? I bet you got 20 different people who showed you a version of it.
Right.
Which one do you use? You can't say. So all of them will work. You just got to use the strategy of why you do it and why it's applicable here and not here. Maybe the way that you jump into it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Do you think it's our responsibility to educate people by teaching the strategy, introducing the strategy while we're doing the technique, or do you think it's something more advanced should be introduced later?
This is my view. I think that in the beginning, and just for me, I can't say what's right for me or what's right for you. I like to have a concept of what the theme of the day is, and really work on that. And I mean, there's a day you can mix multiple themes, but it's like cursive writing. I'm learning that A as a child, and I'm just writing it over and over and over, and just trying to like crispen it. We talked about the hand immobilizing attack. So I'll go into that. I'm not sure if this is going to answer your question, but if we're here, what they teach is a hand mobilizing is maybe I trap that hand and I hit. We could do it before the punch, even just before it, bang, and I go, right? It could be during the punch I catch it. It could be from the connection. It could be when he punches as he's going back, or it could be I just let him go and then I come back. Now, should I do all five? Maybe in an advanced class. But I think that somebody, you got to kind of spoon people as much as they can chew, and I'll just say, we're going to lock it out. And then people will say, oh, you're never going to be able to do that in a real fight. Again, I'll revert to a Lomachenko fight. Just go watch him. There's plenty of them on there. Go watch his greatest hits. You'll see him. Go just type in either trap, and not trapping, but like swiping or hand immobilization, Lomachenko. You'll see some cool stuff come up. And I like it because there's a lot of people in the fight world who have a voice that are people who have the ears of a lot of people who said trapping doesn't work. You never get it. But they like Lomachenko now, and they're like, look at what he did. He's like, and I'm like, that's the same stuff that we're doing, So it has purpose, and if you kind of say it doesn't work and you don't do it, then you're correct. You got to give it the time and the effort to do it. And that's working that strategy. Every strategy deserves the time. It's like me saying the jab doesn't work. Maybe it might not work well against Mike Tyson. Maybe I might score with it, but if I don't do it at all, it's definitely not going to work. So you got to work it to have it. So the strategy that you work is just it's as good as the time that you put into it. You could talk about flanking and stuff like that. The military has it. Martial art definitely has it. And if you give it the time, what is it? I fear not the man who knows 10,000 kicks, but the man who knows one kick and trains it 10,000 times. You got to burn this stuff in. And I really feel if I did that kick 10,000 times, there's strategy behind when I should apply it and when I shouldn't. And everything comes down. It's the basis of martial art is strategy.
Exactly.
It is. And you could say, some people will say boxing, it's not a martial art. It's very much a martial art. And there's a lot of strategy to it. Every boxer has a different strategy. I could be, who's a great, I don't know, Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull. His strategy was, I'm going to let this guy beat on my face for 3 rounds, and I'll just keep punching him in the arm. By the 3rd round, the guy couldn't lift his arms up. Then he would go in and he'd look like pulp, but he'd go in and murder the dude. All right. I don't know if I agree with that, but that was his strategy, and it worked for him. I've taken Indonesian silat, and what they'll do is they go like that. They'll just slap and they put their chin out because they want you to take it because they got something in store for it. I don't know if I agree with it, but I've met some good people who I've not gotten to their face by the time they've got it. So they've drawn me in, and that was their strategy. Okay. So it's just what you make of it, and I guarantee you, if you open up any martial art book, they're going to show you what they're doing and how they're doing it, and it's all strategy. You have to have it. It's key.
Good. So again, the purpose of this whole thing was, as martial arts educators, we should teach and share the whole strategies, and we don't have to go far to find them. We can look into your own art, whatever art you're practicing, and there are strategies that maybe you don't have names for them, but I think it'd be important for us to bring them out, teach them in our curriculum at the same time we teach them techniques.
Yeah, and I would just say that if you're doing something and it's not working for you, and I'm talking about something that you've witnessed others, or you're sure that, how could I say this in a respectful way? If you think that you're showing something or been taught something and you're training it and it's not working, it's not because of the art. It's because of you, and I hate to put it on you, but it is. And it's not even that it's a bad thing. It might be like I have a 90-pound girl, and I say, okay, I want you to lift master fireboards up above your head and throw them on the ground. That might not be the best strategy, but I might tell her to jump up and do a 540, and she could do it.
Right.
So that could be the strategy for her. So you got to figure out, why does the snake fight the way it fights versus the leopard? You know what I mean? They're all born with that agility and attributes. And know your attributes, know what you can rise. And just because something doesn't work for you today doesn't mean it won't work for you tomorrow either. So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you, Guru.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.